I said no to watching my sister's 4 kids. She put them in an Uber to my house anyway. But the driver delivered them to 4758 Maple Street instead of 4785. That house belonged to Derek Mitchell, the father of her twins who she'd reported to police as abusive and dangerous 3 years ago. When the police called 26 hours later with what they'd discovered, my sister was arrested on the spot. The restraining order was fake. The abuse allegations were lies. And when CPS started investigating, they uncovered something that made national news and sent my sister to prison for 12 years. Hey everyone, I'm Rachel Chen, I'm 32 years old, and I'm about to tell you the most horrifying, twisted, and ultimately justice-serving story of my life. This is about boundaries, entitlement, child endangerment, and secrets so dark that when they came to light, they destroyed multiple lives and changed the trajectory of 4 innocent children forever. This story has been eating at me for 2 years. I've been cleared of any wrongdoing legally, but the guilt, the anger, and the absolute insanity of what happened still keeps me up at night. So I'm finally ready to tell it. Let me start by introducing you to my sister, Jennifer. Jennifer is 29, 3 years younger than me. Growing up, Jennifer was the golden child, beautiful, popular, charismatic. I was the nerdy older sister who studied hard and stayed out of trouble. Our parents always favored her. That's important context for everything that follows. Jennifer got pregnant at 19 with her first child, a daughter named Emma. The father disappeared immediately. Our parents supported her, helped raise Emma while Jennifer finished cosmetology school. Then, at 21, Jennifer got pregnant again with twins, boys named Mason and Aiden. Different father, also disappeared. By 24, Jennifer had her 4th child, a son named Noah. Another father, another disappearance. I'm not judging her for being a single mother. Being a single parent is incredibly hard, and I respect anyone who does it. What I am judging is the pattern of expecting everyone else to raise her kids while she lived her life. Our parents were getting older and couldn't keep up with 4 young children. So Jennifer started calling me. A lot. Rachel, can you watch the kids this weekend? I have a date. Rachel, I need you to pick up Emma from school. I'm getting my nails done. Rachel, can the kids stay with you for a few days? I need a break. At first, I helped when I could. I loved my nieces and nephews. But it became constant. Every week, sometimes multiple times per week. I have my own life, I'm a graphic designer who works from home, and I was in a serious relationship with my partner, David. 6 months before the incident, I started saying no more often. I set boundaries. I told Jennifer I couldn't be her free childcare anymore. She didn't take it well. Called me selfish. Said I didn't understand how hard it was to be a single mom. Our parents took her side, of course. Rachel, family helps family. Why are you being so difficult? But I held firm. I said I'd help in emergencies, but I couldn't be her on-call babysitter anymore. Then came the weekend that changed everything. It was a Saturday in June, 2 years ago. David and I had planned a romantic weekend, reservations at a nice restaurant, tickets to a concert, the whole thing. I told Jennifer about it weeks in advance. On Friday night, Jennifer called. Rachel, I need a huge favor. I need you to watch the kids this weekend. Jen, I told you weeks ago that David and I have plans this weekend. I can't. Rachel, please. It's important. I have a job interview in another city. It's a management position at a salon. This could change everything for me and the kids. That's great, Jen, but I have plans. Can Mom and Dad watch them? They're going on their anniversary cruise. They left this morning. What about your friend Amy? Or Brittany? They're all busy. Rachel, please. This is my future. Our future. The kids' future. Jennifer, I'm sorry, but no. I have plans that I'm not canceling. You had weeks to arrange childcare. You're seriously choosing a date night over helping your own family. I'm choosing to maintain the boundaries I set. You can't expect me to drop everything whenever it's convenient for you. She went quiet. Then, fine. I'll figure it out myself. Thanks for nothing. She hung up. I felt guilty, but I also knew I'd made the right choice. I'd been enabling her for too long. Saturday morning, David and I slept in. Around 11 a.m., my phone started ringing. Jennifer. I ignored it. She called again. And again. Finally, I answered. What, Jen? Just wanted to let you know I figured it out. The kids are taken care of. Have fun on your date. Her voice was cold. Okay. Good. I hope your interview goes well. She hung up without responding. Something felt off, but I pushed it aside. David and I had a wonderful day. Lunch at a cafe, shopping, then we got ready for our evening plans. We were at the restaurant around 7 p.m. when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Is this Rachel Chen? Yes, who's this? This is Detective Sarah Martinez with the Metro Police Department. Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions about your nieces and nephews, Emma, Mason, Aiden, and Noah Morrison. My blood ran cold. What happened? Are they okay? They're safe now, but we have a situation. Can you tell me where you are right now? I'm at a restaurant downtown. What's going on? Ma'am, I need you to come to the police station as soon as possible. Your sister put her children in an Uber yesterday and gave the driver your address. Is that correct? What? No. I told her I couldn't watch them. I explicitly said no. The children never arrived at your residence. The driver made an error and delivered them to the wrong address. We're still piecing together exactly what happened, but the children have been missing for approximately 26 hours. I felt like I was going to throw up. Where are they? Are they hurt? They're at Children's Hospital being evaluated. They're physically unharmed. But Miss Chen, we need you to come in. Now. David drove me to the police station. I was shaking the entire way. At the station, Detective Martinez sat me down in an interview room. Ms. Chen, I need you to tell me everything about your conversation with your sister yesterday. I told her everything. How Jennifer had asked me to babysit, how I'd said no, how she called back saying she figured it out. Did you give her permission to send the children to your home? Absolutely not. I explicitly told her I had plans and couldn't watch them. The detective nodded, taking notes. The Uber driver has given us his statement. Your sister ordered the ride, gave him the address 4785 Maple Street, and told him the children's aunt would meet them there. The driver apparently misread the number and took them to 4758 Maple Street instead. Oh my God. The house at 4758 Maple Street is owned by a man named Derek Mitchell. Ms. Chen, does that name mean anything to you? I froze. Derek Mitchell? As in? The twins' father? Yes. You know about him. I know Jennifer got a restraining order against him 3 years ago. She said he was abusive and dangerous. That's why he hasn't seen the twins since they were 5 years old. The detective's expression changed. Ms. Chen, there is no restraining order against Derek Mitchell. We've checked every database. There's no record of abuse allegations, no police reports, nothing. The room started spinning. When the children knocked on the door, Mr. Mitchell answered. He immediately recognized Mason and Aiden, his sons. According to his statement and his Ring doorbell footage, he was shocked and confused. Emma told him their mom said their aunt lived there and would take care of them. Mr. Mitchell realized there was a mix-up with the address. And then what happened? I whispered. According to Mr. Mitchell, he brought the children inside and immediately tried to call your sister. Her phone went straight to voicemail. He tried calling you, he found your number and old text messages with your sister. You didn't answer. He called your parents. Also no answer. He called the police non-emergency line to report the situation, but there was a system outage and his call was never logged. So the kids were with him for 26 hours? Yes. Mr. Mitchell fed the children, let them sleep in his guest rooms, and kept trying to reach someone. The twins were excited to see their father, they had no idea he was supposedly dangerous. That raised red flags for Mr. Mitchell. This morning, when he still couldn't reach anyone, he brought the children to the police station himself to report the situation. That's when we discovered your sister had filed a missing persons report claiming you had kidnapped her children. I was crying now. Are the kids really okay? They're scared, confused, but physically unharmed. However, we need to be clear, Mr. Kendrick violated his parole by having unsupervised contact with minors. He's been arrested and will likely go back to prison. But Ms. Chen, your sister is being charged with 4 counts of child endangerment and 4 counts of child abandonment. Where is she? She's in custody. She returned from her trip this morning and came home to find the children weren't at your residence. She called you repeatedly. I had my phone on silent during dinner and the concert. I didn't see the calls. She then called the police to report that you had kidnapped her children. When we informed her that the children were never delivered to your address and explained the situation, she was arrested. Over the next few hours, I learned the full story. Jennifer had indeed put her 4 children, ages 10, 8, and 5, in an Uber alone with no car seats, no supervision, and without confirming I'd be there to receive them. She'd then driven to her job interview, which turned out to be a weekend getaway with a new boyfriend at a beach resort 3 hours away. She turned off her phone for the weekend. Never checked on the kids. Never confirmed they'd arrived safely. Just assumed I'd deal with it despite my explicit refusal. The Uber driver, a 62-year-old man named Frank, was devastated. He had early-stage dementia that he'd been hiding from the rideshare company. He transposed the numbers. When he dropped the kids at 4,758 instead of 4,785, he didn't even realize his error. He was also charged with endangering children and lost his license. Robert Kendrick's security footage told an interesting story. He really had tried to help the kids. He fed them cereal and let them watch cartoons while he charged his phone. But then he'd taken medication for a health condition that made him drowsy, and he'd fallen asleep on the couch. The kids basically took care of themselves for 26 hours in a stranger's house. When his parole officer arrived for the surprise check and found 4 children in the home of a sex offender, all hell broke loose. The media got hold of the story within 48 hours. Mother abandons 4 children in Uber, kids end up at father's home after years of false abuse claims. It was national news. Jennifer's face was everywhere. So was Derek's, but he was being portrayed as the victim now. A father who'd been kept from his children based on lies. I was also in the news, identified as the aunt who refused to babysit. I got death threats. People called me a monster for not helping my sister. Those kids could have been killed, and you were at a concert. But I also got messages of support from people who understood boundaries, who knew that Jennifer's entitlement and irresponsibility were to blame, not my refusal to enable her. Jennifer was released on bail after 3 days. Our parents paid for it with money from their retirement fund. She immediately went on social media, posting a long rant about how this was all my fault. How if I'd just helped her like family is supposed to, none of this would have happened. The post went viral. Half the comments supported her. Half called her a negligent mother who blamed everyone but herself. Then the real investigation began. Detectives started looking into Jennifer's abuse allegations against Derek Mitchell. What they found was shocking. There had never been any abuse. Jennifer had fabricated the entire story to keep Derek away from the twins. Why? Because Derek had wanted joint custody, and Jennifer wanted full control and full child support without having to share parenting time. She told Derek 3 years ago that she'd filed a restraining order and that if he tried to contact the children, she'd call the police. Derek, not wanting to traumatize his sons with a custody battle, had believed her and stayed away. He'd been sending child support payments to an account that Jennifer claimed was court-ordered, but was actually just her personal account. She'd been collecting money from him under false pretenses. Derek had been paying $1,200 a month for 3 years, $43,200 total, based on lies. When Derek found this out during the police investigation, he was devastated. He'd missed 3 years of his sons' lives because of Jennifer's manipulation. But it got worse. During their investigation, CPS interviewed the children. And Emma, the 10-year-old, disclosed something that made everyone's blood run cold. This wasn't the first time Jennifer had abandoned them. Emma told CPS that their mom had left them alone overnight lots of times. Sometimes for whole weekends. She'd leave them with food and tell Emma, a 10-year-old child, to take care of her younger brothers. The twins, Mason and Aiden, confirmed it. They said sometimes mommy goes away and Emma makes them dinner and puts them to bed. CPS dug deeper. They found that Jennifer had been leaving her children alone for years. Sometimes for days at a time. She'd go on trips with boyfriends, party weekends with friends, even just overnight hotel stays by herself because she needed a break. Emma had been acting as a parent to her siblings since she was 7 years old. There was more. CPS discovered that Jennifer wasn't using the child support she received from the state for the children. Our parents had been paying for food, clothes, and school supplies. The support money was going to Jennifer's nails, hair, clothes, and trips. She was also collecting benefits she wasn't entitled to by claiming she lived with our parents when she actually had her own apartment. Welfare fraud. The DA added charges, 4 counts of child neglect, welfare fraud, making false statements to law enforcement, for trying to claim I'd kidnapped the kids, and extortion, for collecting child support from Derek under false pretenses. Derek filed for emergency custody of the twins. And that's when CPS did a deeper investigation into all 4 children. During interviews, more horrifying truths emerged. Emma revealed that Jennifer had told them their father was a bad man who hurt people and that's why they couldn't see him. The twins had been asking about their dad for years, but Jennifer always said he abandoned them and didn't love them anymore. All lies. CPS also discovered Jennifer had been collecting child support from 2 other men, the fathers of Emma and Noah, by claiming the children lived with her full-time when they were actually being left alone for days at a time while she partied. Emma's father, Brandon, came forward. He'd been paying $800 a month for 10 years, $96,000 total, and Jennifer had been telling him he couldn't see Emma because of a custody agreement that didn't exist. Brandon had believed her because he was young, scared, and didn't know his rights. Noah's father, Tyler, had a similar story. He'd been paying $600 a month for 5 years, $36,000, under the same lies. 3 fathers, all manipulated. All kept from their children through fabricated legal threats. All paying money they didn't legally owe because there were no actual court orders. Total amount Jennifer had fraudulently collected, $175,200. The trial was brutal. I testified about the pattern of Jennifer expecting me to provide free childcare. Our parents testified too, revealing years of covering for Jennifer's absences and providing for the children's basic needs. But the most devastating testimony came from Derek Mitchell. He stood in that courtroom and described learning he had sons. Feeling the joy of fatherhood. Then being told he was dangerous and abusive and couldn't see them. The pain of believing his own children were afraid of him. The confusion when Mason and Aiden hugged him at his door, showing no fear, only excitement to see their daddy. "She took 3 years from me," Derek said, his voice breaking. 3 years I can never get back. Birthdays, holidays, baseball games, bedtime stories. All gone. Because she wanted control and money more than she wanted those boys to have a father. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of people crying. Emma's father, Brandon, testified about being 19 years old when Emma was born, scared and manipulated into believing he had no rights. "I missed watching my daughter grow up because I believed the lies." Noah's father, Tyler, broke down on the stand describing the birthday cards he'd sent that Jennifer returned, claiming Noah didn't want contact with him. The defense tried to paint Jennifer as a struggling single mother who made mistakes. But the prosecution showed a pattern of calculated lies, manipulation, and fraud spanning 10 years. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Jennifer was sentenced to 12 years in prison, though she'll likely serve 8 with good behavior. The custody situation was complex. Derek immediately got full custody of Mason and Aiden. The boys were overjoyed to finally live with their father openly. Brandon fought for and won custody of Emma. She was hesitant at first, she barely knew him. But Brandon had documentation of every attempt he'd made to be in her life, every payment he'd sent, every returned birthday card. He'd never stopped trying. Emma slowly began to trust him. Tyler got custody of Noah. Like Emma, Noah was scared at first. But Tyler was patient, loving, and committed to rebuilding what Jennifer had destroyed. The 4 children were no longer together, and that was hard, especially for Emma who'd been their primary caretaker. But the fathers worked together to arrange regular visits. The kids see each other every other weekend and on holidays. All 3 fathers agreed to get the kids into therapy, both individually and together, to process the abandonment and years of lies. I have visitation rights as their aunt. I see all 4 kids regularly. Derek, Brandon, and Tyler are all grateful to me for sticking to my boundaries. They say if I'd just taken the kids that weekend, the truth might never have come out. Emma is 12 now. She's living with Brandon and his wife, who she now calls Mom. She's in therapy for the parentification trauma, but she's slowly learning to be a kid. She's on the soccer team and in the school choir. Mason and Aiden, now 10, are thriving with Derek. He enrolled them in Little League, takes them camping, and they talk constantly about our dad with pure joy in their voices. Noah, now 7, is shy but happy with Tyler. Tyler's parents, Noah's grandparents who never got to meet him before, are obsessed with their grandson and spoil him appropriately. As for Jennifer, she writes letters from prison. Letters to me blaming me for everything. Letters to the kids begging them to visit. Letters to the fathers calling them vindictive. None of them respond. Derek, Brandon, and Tyler have all agreed the kids can decide if they want a relationship with Jennifer when they're adults. But for now, they need stability, honesty, and parents who actually prioritize them. For now, they're safe. And that's what matters. The 3 fathers have become friends. They coordinate schedules, support each other, and even hang out together. They call themselves the Dad's Club and joke that Jennifer inadvertently gave them the greatest gift, their children and new friendships. There's even talk of Derek and Tyler going into business together. They've bonded over their shared experience and want to create something positive from the trauma. The Uber driver, Frank, had his license revoked and faced charges, but given his age and dementia diagnosis, he received probation and mandatory medical evaluation. He's no longer driving. As for me, I lost my relationship with my parents. They blame me for not helping Jennifer. They've cut me off completely. I haven't spoken to them in 2 years. David and I got married last year. We're talking about having kids of our own someday. But I'm still processing the trauma of what happened. I have nightmares about those 26 hours. About what could have happened. About Emma trying to protect her brothers in a stranger's house. About the absolute miracle that they weren't seriously harmed. People still message me occasionally, calling me selfish for not babysitting. But I've made peace with my decision. I said no. I set a boundary. What Jennifer did in response to that boundary was child endangerment, not my fault. Boundaries aren't cruel. Enforcing them doesn't make you the villain. And people who violate your boundaries and then blame you for the consequences are the real problem. Jennifer made a choice. She chose her own convenience over her children's safety. She chose manipulation over honesty. She chose to put 4 kids in an Uber alone rather than accept responsibility. And 4 children paid the price for her selfishness. But those children are safe now. They're loved. They're healing. And Jennifer is exactly where she deserves to be. I still carry guilt. I wonder if I could have prevented it somehow. But my therapist reminds me, I'm not responsible for Jennifer's choices. I'm only responsible for my own. And I chose boundaries. I chose my own life. I chose not to enable dysfunction. Those were the right choices. Even when they led to nightmare scenarios I never could have predicted. So here's my message to anyone struggling with family boundaries: hold firm. Don't let guilt manipulate you into sacrificing yourself for people who won't take responsibility for their own lives. And if you're a parent, your children are your responsibility. Not your family's. Not your friends'. Yours. The moment you abandon that responsibility, you risk losing them forever. Jennifer learned that the hard way. And 4 kids learned that sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from. Thanks for listening, everyone. If this story hit home, hit subscribe. Drop a comment about your own boundary setting experiences. Share this with someone who needs to hear that saying no doesn't make you the villain. Until next time, protect your peace, set your boundaries, and remember that other people's emergencies don't have to become your crisis. This is Rachel Chen, signing off. The aunt who said no, and somehow became the villain in someone else's story of neglect.